Welcome back, ARK players, to a brand new video. Now, today we have a new interview from Jeremy, the CEO, I guess, or the co-founder at Studio Wildcard on ARK Survival Ascended, and there is some information on the center coming in this interview, which is really, really awesome. We are going to be reading through the entire interview, so sit back, relax, and I hope you guys do enjoy. The full interview for this from WCCF Tech will be linked in the description down below if you just want to check it out for yourself, but make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you do enjoy. So let's hop into this and read through ARK Survival Ascended premium mods on console Q&A. By 2030, time spent on UGC will be way bigger. So thank you for all the support of the videos. Drop a like and subscribe, and let's dive into this. So when Studio Wildcard released ARK Survival Ascended, its Unreal Engine 5 remaster of the highly successful open world game ARK Survival Evolved, the studio bet heavily on the power of modding and user-generated content. Studio Wildcard partnered with Overwolf's CurseForge to deliver these mods not just on Steam, but everywhere, from PC to consoles. In addition to the dedicated webpage, there's an in-game browser where users can check over 1,900 mods available in ARK Survival Ascended, which range from new weapons to new armor, creatures, and even fully fledged game modes and high-quality maps. Let's dive into it. Studio Wildcard and Overwolf did not stop there, though. They allowed the development of premium mods, and now 9 of these paid mods are also available on the Xbox Series X, with PlayStation 5 following soon. They've spoken with Studio Wildcard's lead designer and co-creative director Jeremy and Overwolf's chief marketing officer Shahar to discuss the importance of this landmark release and the role that user-generated content will play in the future of the games industry. So let's dive into this. So first, let's talk about the partnership between Overwolf and Studio Wildcard for ARK Survival Ascended mods and how did this come about. So Jeremy goes on to say, when we looked at doing a new version of ARK, we knew by looking at the original game that modding was very important for that game's success. But we asked ourselves the question, how can we make modding more of a core pillar of the game that will benefit all players for all versions of the game, not just the PC version and not just the Steam version? In ARK Survival Evolved, it wasn't even just the mods that were limited to PC, they were limited to Steam. We had versions of the game on the Epic Games Store and the Microsoft Store, and those versions wouldn't even work with the Steam mods. We were looking at the limitations of the Steam Workshop and really getting that sense that Valve had no plans to evolve it beyond that. Also, it was not just about making mods more available to a wider audience, but how we could make an ecosystem by which players could discover them more naturally, like in-game, and really kind of relate to more game logic and categories and game flow, UI, and so forth. But also, there is a way to make a financial ecosystem, not really for our benefit, but for the creators themselves, so they can eventually have an incentive to create higher quality mods, more ambitious mods, which benefit us in an incentive, in a fundamental way of increasing player engagement, but also making things more for people to play in the game, higher quality things, especially because we know a key challenge with these live service games is the content treadmill, as developers struggle to keep up with the amount of playable content that gamers reasonably expect on a weekly basis for these online games. That is very challenging for a small developer to do. Mods are a great benefit. They don't eliminate the need for official content, but they definitely help make the game feel fresh on a daily basis. When content is created by end users, it's exciting. So all of that was so important to us, but here's the thing, we had no experience in any of that. So we knew that it was not our compatibility to build anything like that. We looked around and it turned out that Overwolf and CurseForge had already begun working on systems very much in line with those goals. At this point, I'll turn it over to them and they can describe the kind of what they've been building and how it relates to ARK Survival Ascended. So Shahar goes on to say, thank you, Jeremy. I'll start from the top with Overwolf and CurseForge. We see a massive shift happening in the world of gaming, with the demand for in-game content and user-generated content on a massive rise. That's due to players wanting more play experiences, but also to all sorts of other demands, the rise of user acquisition, which makes it very tough for developers to attract players, and the extreme cost of developing extra content. So we see a world in which by the end of this decade, the time players spend on user-generated content and mods is way bigger than the time spent on actually playing the core experience of the game. We're on a mission to create an ecosystem and marketplace to support that, because at the core of what we're trying to do is say that modders are really developers and should get paid for that, hence premium mods right now. It's like when YouTube came along, people put up videos and suddenly there was this new world called streamers. With Overwolf, we call modders and app and private server developers and in-game creators that the number one stat in our company that we measure is how much money a year we make to facilitate and help these creators earn. In 2023, it was 201 million, and our end goal of the end of the decade is to hit 1 billion. Studio Wildcard is probably the number one studio that we found so committed to the creator economy. They share the same view with us, and we think that each game or worthwhile deep AAA experience is a content hub. We're on a mission to detoxify each of those games and allow for tools, from the tech tools to modding tools to discoverability tools, to help those gamers enlist what I call the creator legion to help build within, and also some mods to monetize them. We need to remember that the core of the modding experience is free and will always stay free, and within that we've decided to work with Studio Wildcard on opening a new creator category, the premium mod category, the DLC level mod category. This category can be opened up to small game studios and really talented teams that could build DLC level content. It's a big win for the studio because they're getting a velocity of content on a whole nother level. It's a big win for creators because we can make money. It's a big win for the players who can discover in-game all sorts of new content. And what's happening right now is what's happening right now is that there are a first in terms of tech. Getting modders to deploy on consoles, for instance, was nearly impossible because the consoles needed to approve the mod. Together with Studio Wildcard, we built auto cooking, which means ARK Survival Ascended modders can submit the mods to us, and our tech takes care of the cooking. Now, deployment on all platforms is much easier because they can have a mod that can be distributed or cooked at the same time for all these platforms, which wasn't possible before. There are also crossplay, so if I download an ARK Survival Ascended mod on PC and Jeremy plays on Xbox, we can play the same mod at the same instance. These things are a first in the world of modding, and we're going to see many more, I think. Games adopt this and try it and go for it. But this is innovation with the UGC world. And Jeremy goes on to say, a small asterisk there, I do think the Unreal Fortnite editor has a similar compatibility for cross-platform through Epic systems, but I think what we and Overwolf have built together is more flexible in many ways. Fortnite does allow people to use these PC-based tools to create content that goes on the three platforms, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, but what you can do with the mods is currently very much more limited. Epic hobbles various compatibilities of the engine deliberately for quality control reasons. For example, they disallow access to the lower level blueprint logic of the engine, favoring only a high level text script language called the Verse, which is kind of like JavaScript. There are lots of limitations with Verse, both functionality and performance-wise, like writing a game in JavaScript, which is not exactly what you want to be doing if you want to write a deep, high-performance experience. The second thing is currently they don't allow mods to be directly sold. They only have engagement-based compensation system, which I think is more appropriate for super creators, but not very appropriate for non-super creators. And then thirdly, just from a technical standpoint, they don't allow mods to imperforate, and every mod experience in Fortnite is its own self-contained thing, whereas the way it's designed in ARK Survival Ascended is that the end user can mix and match mods in many cases to create their own customized game experience. Some mods are standalone, but many of them are designed to interpret that allows more of the user-centric experience of exactly how you want to kind of customize your gameplay and what you want to add and remove from it. These are maybe fine-grained distinctions, but I do think fundamentally, Overwolf and Studio Wildcard's approach is more traditionally mod-centric. It's like what modding has been for PC for many years, translating that to other platforms and also making an automatic compensation mechanism for the creators themselves. I think Epic has made many strides and is probably most similar with Fortnite, but is different and in many ways not as featureful. Roblox, of course, is another example that we mentioned earlier. But what distinguishes what we've done with ARK Survival Ascended from Roblox is that Roblox is just a set of tools in game that allows you to build environments and simple scripting within the game. So yeah, I think they just go on to talk a little bit more about in this interview, just saying that like people can now create their own full-sized expansion packs within ARK Survival Ascended. You can even literally create games that are entirely different, like when they uploaded like the Mickey Mouse thing, and they said with respect to Roblox, it's much less of an actual game development and more like map making with their existing game. But ARK Survival Ascended is literally making that there, and they say that's so we're excited to see, and I think we've already seen that people have made more ambitious content over these weeks since the launch of premium mods earlier this year. It's getting a little bit more advanced, a little bit more ambitious, and that's going to continue to occur, I think, over the coming weeks and months. So if we now just sort of go through some more of the biggest things, like center news and stuff. So they say, so this one was the flip side is that you will need to be, okay, yeah. So we'll skip this one because it's not really in line with what we're fully talking about. But I guess they're just going on how people can start maybe sort of taking modding a little bit more seriously and turning it more into a full-time job. Which would be amazing for the future, because I feel like what's happening quite a lot in this generation is that many people are finding lots of different ways to make and earn from all different types of things. I didn't expect to be a YouTuber at 25 years old, if I'm honest. I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do, and I'm very grateful that I'm allowed to do it, and that's thank you to you guys. But even the fact that people are now going to be able to do similar things like this through the power of modding is amazing. They say, I guess Microsoft and Sony still want their usual 30% cut, as they do with all regular DLCs. And they say this is still in the works. It's a new model, and it's the first time premium mods are sold inside. And yes, everybody gets their cut here. I can't go into the numbers. It's happening as we speak. I could just say that number-wise, it's done much better than we thought initially it should do. If it continues like this, we're talking about a new section in the industry as a whole, and we'll see many studios adapt. And then, okay, that's pretty much the stuff there. And look, so we're going to see new sources of revenue and opportunities to developers find a way of making a living, which is fantastic. And you have to remember as well, something else that helps here is there's no employment contracts that have to go into things. So like employment contracts cause all types of issues. So by doing this, you can work self-employed pretty much, which is just awesome. And if we skip past that, let's talk about, that's definitely something I wanted to talk about. Curation is always always an issue with user generated content, and certainly more on consoles. So how can you handle that for ARK Survival Ascended? Overwolf was built on deploying UGC about a decade ago. We have a vast experience and unique 3-tier system of moderation and curation. First, we have an in-house team that manually checks every piece of content. And then we have an AI and automation tools to check it. And then we're in touch with the community, which does the final test, which is very, very cool. And then they say, I've read in your press release that ARK Survival Ascended currently supports mods to $2 to $10 premium mods. Is there a hard limit, or could someone make a $30 mod? And Shahar goes on to say, we're testing this real time and live. There are mods for $2, $5, and there's $10, and maybe there's $15. I think we need to see how the market behaves and how it makes sense. There aren't any hard lines on what to price what. I would say that when we come to pricing these mods, we'll work closely with the studio on what makes sense. This is not something the modder can just put up and say, oh, I want this and that. This whole system needs to reek of transparency and trust, and that's what we're trying to do. So to your question, maybe there'll be a mod that will justify that level of price, but something that we can all shake hands on before we put it up. And Jeremy says, one last thing I want to mention is obviously one important thing to traditional modding on PC is that it is open as possible. Notably, you can actually flag a mod when you create one in ARK Survival Ascended as a PC only mod. And if you flag the mod as PC only non-premium, it goes up automatically. Because I think the one thing we want to make sure is that everything doesn't become paid. It's a bit of a hard one, right? Because, you want to support mod creators and help them make a living because they've deserved that for so long. But because it was free in the past, obviously not to that, it's still to the really, really high standard on ARK Survival Evolved. Some people don't want to pay for things that they've always had for free. I think that there's definitely a space for paid mods, and I don't have a problem with it. I just don't think they should be turning all of the ones that were free in the start. They have to be new and fresh, in my opinion. And they say, I've also read premium mods are still not available on the PS5. Any ETA on that? Jeremy says, hopefully in the next week or so, they're actively working on buttoning out the last things on that platform. And then premium mods aren't exactly a novel concept. Bethesda, arguably one of the biggest developers when it comes to modding, has already tried that a few times and encountered a fair amount of resistance from the community. How do you feel about that? Do you reckon most modders will continue to be against this opportunity? And Jeremy says, I'll give my own developer thoughts on that, and then Shahar can provide his insight on it as well. I feel that controversy in particular has been bubbled up every now and then. As you said, it's usually around Bethesda. It's like every 5 years or so, there's a little thing involving it. But last time I remember they attempted it was almost 5 or 6 years ago, if not longer, on Steam Workshop. And I do think that player habits, consumer habits, and the whole industry have changed a lot within that time. Yeah, that's interesting. Where's the start? Right, I think we're going to move into the center stuff. That's what we're going to move into now, because I feel like was there a reaction of ARK Survival Ascended modders to the premium mod news? And Jeremy said generally it was quite positive. There was some initial reaction. They were like, that's a bridge we're not sure if we want to cross. I think that overall, especially they've seen it work, and other modders have now released their content using the premium channel. They appreciate if they do want to make money with the hard work they're putting into the process with making stuff like that. That option is yet there. Yeah, I think it was fairly positive, but I definitely still feel like there are a lot of people out there that's not very happy with the fact that I think if anything that was free on the first game, and any modder that charges for it in the future on Ascended, I don't think that's really the right thing, because yeah, maybe like let's talk of Svartalfheim, right? Like, I guess the reason why that's now paid is it's going to be able to be supported a lot more and have things it was never had. So I think that's got an exception to it. But if it is, I think it has to be new, fresh stuff if they're going to be charging for it. That's my personal opinion on it. And then anyway, here we are, onto the center stuff. So they say some ARK Survival Ascended fans may be wary of this initiative and fear it could take time off your schedule to make official content. How would you respond to that concern? And Jeremy said, the good news is that we have a very large team that cannot be all orientated around mods. The content team at the end of the day is there to make internal content for ARK. The team associated with the support of mods is primarily technical. All these artists, all these level designers and animators are here to make internal official content. So to speak, that's what we're doing. And we have a big map release coming out in a couple of weeks that includes new creatures and some new gameplay. We have a few surprises related to that down the official channel. That is really, really big news. So not only are we getting the new creatures such as the Ceratosaurus, that Jeremy has said includes new creatures. So it could be more than just the Ceratosaurus, but there's new gameplay. No idea what that can be, but Wildcard did say in the old one of the old community crunches that there's surprises coming that we don't even realize is coming our way. So I think there's going to be some giant like sort of reveals and trailers coming out soon for the center, and I really, really hope that is going to sort of make it a very exciting time for us. So we'll read through the rest of this, and I think we'll call it a day on the rest of it. There is some ARK 2 information here, not really. Jeremy kind of cuts but beyond the question. But they say we still have to make official content in a very regular clip, but these premium mods keep the game fresh at an interval that would otherwise be impossible to beat or degrade the quality of our official content, meaning people can log into ARK Survival Ascended every single day and find something new on the mod system and the mod tab. They go into the mod browser in the game and they check the new releases every single day, and that's always that giving someone something fresh rather than waiting months and months. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And then they say Studio Wildcard is also working on ARK 2, which as far as we know is still planned to launch late this year. Are you going to allow these features, including premium mods, for the sequel? Very, very, very clever question from them there. But unfortunately, Jeremy kind of skips the question, which is you kind of expected that. As a developer, I believe for all these kinds of online service, live service online games, modding is essential. I wouldn't make a game without this compatibility going forward if I had any choice in the matter, because I think otherwise you're setting yourself up for an impossible task of creating content at a pace that no developer can truly achieve if you're stifling for the creativity of your players. Not to mention, if you don't give them this compatibility, they will mod your game anyway. They're just going to have to do it with hacks and kind of reverse engineering, which is how a number of games get modded, but then you're not going to have any way to actually capture the enthusiasm within the game and present it to the average player. It'll just be like, go here, download the zip file, extract it, and yeah, let's just hope it works. If you're not doing it for a live online game, then you're ignoring a huge potential magnet for players to continue playing and stay in your game, as Shahar indicated. So anything future that I do, we really need to have this as far as I'm concerned if it's an online game. So yeah, that is pretty much everything. There wasn't any indication on the response to is still planned to launch this year with ARK 2, because that's apparently the plan, but I'm just excited for the center now. I can't wait to see and hear a little bit more on what's to come with the center. And if you do want to go read the full rest of the interview, please go click the link in the description. But apart from that, guys, the road to the center's here. Leave a like, subscribe, and I can't wait to see you guys in the new map.